Good afternoon, everyone. Well, today's the day. We've been postponing and procrastinating on the shocks for the longest time, but today we're going to get started on them. We're going to get in here and get some lights turned on. Maybe one day I'll add a three-way switch so I can open the light from the big door. So we got shocks that we're going to do, the front and the rear. And I don't know if we're going to get them all done today, but we'll see what happens. But just an FYI, future things, we're going to be fixing that stone guard or mud flap down there. This is the air conditioning compressor on the engine for the cab, and a new dryer. We got to replace that because we have a leak in the air conditioner. Again, we still have the boost we want to install. So anyhow, stick around and we'll get going on the shocks. Okay, long awaited replacing the shocks. I hope I've got that camera set up. What we're going to do is we got to start by taking off our lug nut covers, our wheel hub cover, if I can get my fingers in here. I happen to have, which not everyone does, what's called a nut buddy. And just probably hand me that 33 millimeter. Thank you. A nut buddy is something you put on a lug nut to take off the lug nuts, because these things are torqued to almost 450, 700 foot-pounds. I don't know if you can see that, but this little lever is going up against that lug nut there. And there we go. It's like a 400-to-1 ratio. So when I spin this, it takes very little energy on my part. I don't know if you can see it, but that 33 millimeter is starting to spin. And once we get it loose, then I can take a normal impact wrench to get it off. I don't know, I've done what, 10, 15 rounds, and we've got a quarter turn on that lug nut. And that's it. That one's now loose. And we're going to do one more, and then I'm going to stop the video and get them off, because I want to jack the tire up a little bit. And that's definitely loose enough for me to use my normal impact. So I'm going to go ahead and take this wheel off. Okay, jack up the axle just a little bit. I've got my jack stands down to hold the weight of the RV. Just can use a 3-ton jack just to get the axle up off the ground. Get the wheel off, we'll access the shocks. All right, finish up with the nut buddy. Get them all broken loose, and then just use a normal impact wrench, and we can just take the rest of them off. Not that difficult. Okay, get all the lug nuts off. And then, probably the hardest part is getting this 200-pound tire and wheel off of the lug nuts without hurting yourself. So I'm going to raise it up just a little bit more so I got a little bit of room. A pry bar, get underneath it, lift it, and pull on it at the same time. And there we go. Don't try and pick one of these things up. We're just going to roll it over here and get it out of the way. And now you can see we have access to the shock. We got one bolt down there and one bolt up there. That's all we got to do, take that off, and we'll start working on that. All right, tried using my impact wrench to break that top nut loose. Not going to happen. So I've got my 1 1/8 inch, a breaker bar, and a 24-inch cheater bar. And we're gonna pull on this puppy and see if we can break them loose. Okay, we got the top one off, got the bottom one loose. Let's see if we can get this bottom one the rest of the way off here. And we got the bottom one off. Set these here, top ones go here, and let's see if we can get the shock off.
I'm gonna have to slide that bolt in. Yep. From the bottom.
Now there's a spacer on the bottom on this one, and there's the shock. Okay, so what we did, had to do this on the other side, is we have to put 2 spacers here in order to get it out, because the new shock is a little larger diameter and was hitting right here on this sprocket. So to keep things even, I also put 2 spacers on the bottom. So we're going to go ahead and slide this on the bottom first, I think. There we go. And press this by hand down to about where it needs to go. And there we go. I hope my head wasn't in the way of all that. And then washer, nut, it's a self-locking, so it's going to stop there. And same thing down below, washer and nut until it stops. All right. Did I bring the Loctite over? I did not bring the Loctite over. So let's go ahead and put a couple drops of Loctite on there, and then red Loctite so that it stays. And we'll tighten it up. We're definitely getting there. Let's get the bottom started. Let's see, I think we need to tilt this down a little bit to see the bottom. Ooh, that's interesting. Look at that. Even with that spacer in there, I still got to pull it over. There we go. I've already got my Loctite on there. This impact wrench goes to 130 foot-pounds, and these are supposed to go to 140. So I'm going to get my torque wrench and crank on them to 140. All right, I got the backup wrench on the back. I've got this set for 140 foot-pounds.
You had it, you had to change it, put it on 150.
Oh, that's right, I did, didn't I? Let's back this off to 140. There we go. That would be 140. Let's move up to the top. Not sure we're going to need that. Yep, we're going to need that. see if I can get it over here. There we go. It's got to be close. There we go, 140 foot-pounds. There we go, and it's Loctited. One more thing, as long as I got the tires and wheels off, we're going to take these aluminum rims and we're going to make them pretty again. I'm using Mother's Mag and aluminum polish, drill motor and a buffer, and a diaper. Gotta have cloth diapers everywhere all the time. So let's get started on this and then I'll finish it later. Let's throw some blobs on here. That's enough to get started. The main reason I'm doing this, I've done this before while it was on the vehicle, but you can't get in between the studs. So I wanted to do it now while I have it off. Take a quick break there, show you what we got. Look at the difference in the shine from where I just polished and where I haven't polished yet. Doesn't take that long, but we're going to make them pretty before we put them back on. Okay, it may not be perfect, but I'll tell you what, it looks a whole lot better than it did. Let's go ahead and get it back onto the rig and tighten it down. If you ever try and change a semi-tire on the side of the road, be careful, they're heavy. You gotta wiggle them. You're never gonna be able to lift them up. They're 200 pounds. I'm just kind of walking this in to get it close. Get things lined up. It looks like I need to spin this just a little bit this way. Get closer. That looks like it's about where it goes. Crowbar, because you can't lift these things by yourself. Got the top in. There we go. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing with the wrench. Pushing the top and the bottom at the same time. One on the bottom all the way in, finger tight to hold it in place. Here we go. This is 130 foot-pounds. These are supposed to go to 400 to 450 foot-pounds, so I've got a really big torque wrench I borrowed from a neighbor, and we're going to play with that right now. So, I borrowed my neighbor's torque wrench. This thing will go up to 750 foot-pounds. I got it set for 450 foot-pounds. And what I did earlier is I tightened these with my impact wrench, which I know goes to 130, and then I measured how much further I spun it with this torque wrench. That way I know if I'm on the side of the road changing the tire, I take it as far as my impact wrench will go and then how much further I need to spin it with the breaker bar and cheater bar to get it up at least close to 400 pounds, which is actually 1/8 of a turn. But here is this breaker bar. That goes up to 750, but I've got it set for 450. And the brakes. There's one, opposite here. And the brakes. Over here. I may not have got that one tight. And the brakes. And the brakes. So I'm going to do that for all 10 of them. You don't need to watch all of them. All right, one last thing as we're finishing up. By the way, this is my neighbor, Mr. Carl. You notice I've had someone here helping me. Some S100 chrome polish. Polish up the little bit of chrome that goes on, and then finish putting all the trim back on. And then we're going to call the front done. Just a little bit of S100 chrome polish, same thing I use on the Harley Davidsons. You'd be surprised how shiny it makes the chrome. Buff it in. And then a nice simple buff out. I figure as long as I've got everything apart, we might as well clean it and shine it up, right? There we go, nice and pretty. And he just snaps on, lining up the tabs. There we go.
Oh, that really
And then the lug nut covers. There we go. Now we'll be proud to drive down the road. All right, front shock's done. Back shock's probably tomorrow or the next day. Okay, so we have the front shocks done and the front wheels polished. They'll sure do look pretty. There's the new Gabriel shocks. There's a sumo springs I did not too long ago. Let's go over to the other side. The sumo springs, the shocks, and as you can see, I've got plenty of clearance down there where I had to put that notch on the sumo springs. Fits the shocks. And we have that thing all shined up nice and pretty as well. So let me swing this around. Okay, that's the front shocks and front wheel polishing. I'm going to take a couple day break and do the rears, maybe tomorrow, maybe the day after tomorrow. It's raining. I don't know if you can hear it hitting the barn roof, but we're going to take a break. Got the front done, and hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you learned something. If you have any questions or comments, please comment down below. I'll be happy to answer any questions. And of course, please subscribe and share with your friends. Thanks for watching.